overview and settings page in early Q2. The goal is to have a comprehensive landing page that enables merchants to learn about ways to be successful on Pinterest and also discover new features on that Pinterest is launching. So what that means is that this is going to be a landing page with, where we'll be linking FAQ articles, blog posts, just to understand how to use Pinterest better, as well as discover any new Pinterest features they'll be launching in the future. Which brings me to my next update. During Pinterest Presents, we spoke about Pinterest checkouts, a new way for merchants to grow their business and have pinners purchase products directly from Pinterest without having to leave the app. We're planning to launch this in early Q3, around July, where approved merchants will have the option to enable features within the app. In addition to buying products from your Shopify storefront, pinners will also be able to find your products on Pinterest and make a purchase without having to leave the app. Now I'm handing it over to our product specialist, Moira, for the Q&A.
Hey everyone, my name is Moira Romualdez. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the Commerce Integrations Product Specialist. I've been at Pinterest for 3 years, and I specialize working on third-party integration that creates product mints on Pinterest.
Awesome. Thanks for the intro, Moira, and thanks for sharing those exciting updates, Praneet. So now we'll go ahead and jump into the Q&A session. For those of you who just joined, just a quick reminder that we're starting with questions that were pre-submitted in our Q&A form, and then we'll go ahead and get to additional questions that you drop in the Q&A chat. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our Q&A session, starting with our first question, which is, how do I choose what will be featured on the Shop tab when using Shopify product sections?
So this is based on user preference. It can be your best-selling products or new arrivals. It is really up to you what you want to showcase in the Shop tab. The process is not really different for Shopify integrated accounts or using manual feeds. Let me show you how to do that in the Pinterest UI. Give me 1 sec to share my screen. Let me know if you guys can. Are we good?
Yeah, we can see your screen, Moira. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So right now I'm in the catalogs UI, but in order to get this, just click on ads, catalogs, just to make sure, and then you go to groups and make sure you star a product group. So yeah.
Great. Thanks, Moira, for showing us how to do that. Now moving on to the next question. How do I make sure that all products can be used to be added as product tags to standard pins when using Shopify?
If you're referring to our feature product tagging, you don't need to do anything specific for Shopify integrated accounts. You just need to click on the tagging icon for the pin or hero image you want to use. Pick the product you want to tag, either from URL, your current pins, or from your feed. And from there, you are good to go. Let me show this too. So you guys can see my screen, right? So just hit create. Okay, perfect. Hit create. And then, okay, not sure. It's having some, there you go. And then just click this button, upload an image of your choice, and click anywhere to tag. And from here, you could just put in your the title of your product from your catalog, or you could just paste it by their product ID as well. There is also an option to directly paste from your website, but right now this is part of the, it's not showing.
Great. Thanks for showing us how to do that, Moira. Our next question is, I have connected my Shopify store to Pinterest and my products have been pulled through. However, they are in the all products group. I would like to create more product groups, but when I go to the page to do this, the filters called item ID and item group ID do not have any options. What are these item IDs in relation to my products? Where are they stored? And how do I change them so I can create product groups?
Okay. But right now on Pinterest, the item ID is equivalent to item group ID, which is the variant ID value on Shopify. This is still a work in progress and is a feature we are working on. However, you can use other filters like price, availability, and brands. I could show you how that looks like, but just note that if you select item ID or item group ID, nothing will populate. Let's get into that. Let me just go home. Sorry, like my my account is translated. So here we go to product groups, create product group, and then make sure you click on this drop down. And here are the other options. Just make sure you don't select these two because nothing will populate. So yeah.
Great. Thanks, Moira. Now moving on to the next question. I've just created my Pinterest account and linked with Shopify so that I can automatically upload my products. The problem is that I do not see the products. I can only see the products when I search for them. But even then, it shows that they are locked and visible only to me. How do I fix that?
Okay. You can see your uploaded products on Pinterest by going to ads catalogs, as I've been doing. If you are seeing a lock icon, I don't believe this is the catalogs UI. It might be the secret board. But however, since we're in this topic already, if you do want to see your products after you have ingested a catalog, this feature is called Shop Tab. So as I've shown earlier as need to feature a product group, and there are a couple more requirements for it to show up in the shop tab, but essentially you need to feature it and then it will show in your shop tab. Let me show you where it should show up. So just go to your profile, confirm, and then this is should be translated to shop, and anything you feature will be shown here. So, and just again, your uploaded products is going to be under ads catalogs, and it doesn't have a lock icon.
Great. Thanks, Moira. Another question here. Also notice that it uploads each variant of the same product. Is there any way to only upload a single variant so that I have only one pin for each product?
If you have multiple product variants, each will create a separate pin. And we are still also working on updating this logic in our system. If you just have one variant, as you mentioned, make sure to untick or not check the options value during create a product flow on Shopify. Let me also show you how it looks like so it's easier to understand. So let me just hop in to my test account and give me one sec. Having technical difficulties. I got log off.
No problem. Take your time, Moira.
Okay.
And in the meantime, if anyone has additional questions, please make sure to keep adding them in the Q&A section. I see some questions filtering in, so that's great. We'll make sure to get to them shortly. So just keep adding and upvoting to that Q&A section.
Okay. It's almost there. Loading. Okay, now we're back. Let me share my screen again. Okay. Okay. Confirming you guys can see? Okay.
Yes, confirming.
So where was I? So to see your products on Shopify, as you guys might know already, just go to products and then select any product, options, and make sure it looks like this. Yeah.
Great. All right, great. Thanks for showing us that, Moira. Moving on to the next question. How can I ensure that my catalog follows all of the Pinterest requirements to apply as a verified merchant?
The Shopify integration makes it easy for you just make sure you have all the required fields populated on your product on Shopify, which is the ID, the title, description, price, image, and availability. So those are when you populate anyway, so it should be straightforward. But ultimately the goal is to have a healthy feed. This means that there should not be any error messages. In most cases, these error messages show up when there is a problem with the requirements not being met. And to avoid that, please follow our guidelines, which is also stated in our help center article, and we will link that here.
Great. I'll go ahead and share a link now in the chat to that Help Center article on verified merchants. So if you have any questions on verified merchants, please make sure to check out this article. All right, moving on to the next question. Is there a way to get the Pinterest app in Shopify to resume syncing? It worked initially, but stopped, and any new products I add to my store don't appear on Pinterest.
Users have the option to pause or activate their feed under their feed section on Shopify UI. I'll show that in a bit, but make sure once you're in that UI, click Manage Feeds. However, if your feed is failing, this is something our team can take a look deeper into by filing a ticket. So let's go back in the Shopify. So from products, just go to your Pinterest app. So for my case, since this is a test account, you might see some errors here and there, but it shouldn't be a big deal. Looks like it's still loading. Give it a sec. So it should be this section right here. So right now, I mentioned earlier, there's a bunch of errors since it's a test account, but ultimately you should be able to click on this one, and from there you should be see the button to pause or activate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Moira. Moving on to our next question, which is actually a two-part question. So my Shopify store is integrated with Pinterest via the app, and my product pins are showing up in my catalog. The issue is that I now have multiple variants as separate products, and I don't like the images the Pinterest algorithm chose. My question is, can I pause my feed and then manually create a new data source that Pinterest can use instead? And two, if so, would I host that file on Shopify under files? I don't have too many products, so this would be manageable for me. Just looking for a solution until Pinterest gives users more control over the integration.
Okay, first of all, thanks for the continued use of our products, even though it's not yet perfect. And to answer your question, yes, you can pause your feed and we will stop ingesting your products on Pinterest. And also, just to confirm, by manually creating a new data source, do you mean the use of a CSV, TSV, or XML? If that is the case, that can possibly be a workaround. However, you might have to double check with Shopify if they can host your URL. In my experience, I have not seen any URLs hosted by Shopify, and you might need to source out some other hosting websites. And also, remember, I usually the first go to are Google Drives. So we don't support that currently. So please step away from using that because it causes too many errors.
Great. Thanks, Moira. Now, moving on to our next question, which is also around images. So it says, the image on my Shopify store is not the same from Pinterest. Why is that?
Okay, this is a good question, and we get this quite often, not just in the PBC. So right now, when we have multiple image or variants, the process is not yet refined once we ingest it on Pinterest. And we do select those images for you, but just an update that the fix is about to be out soon, and we will keep Jazz posted when this is in production or out to the public.
Thanks, Moira. Yeah, and as mentioned, for any updates that are coming in about any of our products, including Shopify, we recommend checking in the PBC because we will make sure to post announcements as they roll out. So stay tuned. All right, next question. My feed locale is reverting to Ireland when I selected a different country. Why is that?
So as like the other one, this is also a known issue, but was just fixed. So if your account was affected, please file a ticket with us and we will tell you how to fix it.
Awesome. Thanks, Moy. Now, moving on to our last question before we jump into the Q&A chat. So our last question here is, my product description is showing some random code that I did not add. How can I remove that?
Okay, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is also a known limitation that we are. I'm so sorry. I know this is such a not the best user experience, but pins don't currently support text with HTML tag. So but again, once we update this logic, we will let Jasmine know and it will be announced.
Awesome. Thank you, Moira. And thank you all for pre-submitting these questions. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into our Q&A chat. I see we got some questions coming in. And just a quick reminder to everyone, if we're not able to get to your question now, we will make sure to include it in our post-event FAQ, which will include a recording of this session as well. So stay tuned for that in the PBC. We'll be posting it later this week. All right, so I'll go ahead and jump in to our Q&A section. So our first question is from Serenity. She's asking if there are keyword considerations for new Shopify users. And Moira, let us know if any of these questions you'd like to address in the FAQ recap, or if you're able to answer them live.
For the first question, I just wanted to clarify: is this on? Yeah, because I was thinking on the Pinterest UI, and there's also keywords, so I'm not sure if that's related. But if I might have to double check and get back to Jazz on this one because, yeah, I just need more clarity on this question as well.
Great, no problem. All right, moving on to our next question from Michael. How do you claim your website using the Shopify app?
Oh, okay. This is a good question, and we get this a lot too. And the short answer is you don't do anything. You just connect the app, and the app does it for you.
Great, that's easy enough.
Yeah.
Moving on to our next question. How to filter the view your shop products in chronological order? My new products show up all over the place and I want to see them in order.
Like this is not really Shopify related, but more Shop tab. Is it okay if we skip this one?
Yeah, and then just to add some context here for any of these questions, for anything ShopTab related, we do plan on hosting a separate event to dig into ShopTab. So when we share our post-event survey, if you have any topics that are really top of mind that you'd like to see an event for, please let us know. We are all ears, and we want to make sure that we can make the best use of these events and answer your questions. All right, moving on. I see we have a question about images. So from Barbara here, how can I edit the featured image on the product catalog? I would like to feature the main picture, but it just shows some random pictures from the product photo gallery. Thanks.
So this is one of the questions that was asked in advance. It's
Mhm.
the way we ingest the if you have this, so we select the photo for you. Right now, as I mentioned, we're still working on refining that process. So a workaround would be, as mentioned earlier, just use a manual feed, or if you just want to use a specific product, just remove the additional images and just pick the one that you want us to test.
Great. Thanks, Moira. Moving on, I see we have another question here around keywords. Moira, let me know if you're able to address this or if we want to address in the FAQ, but it looks like Vivian is asking, does using keywords in the title and description of your product group benefit your account at all?
Keywords. I might need to get back to this one specifically to do some confirmations because I'm thinking of SEO, I guess. But yeah, let's just answer this in the FAQ to make sure our answers are correct.
Perfect. And then if anyone wants to add any additional context on their questions, that would be really helpful for us as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, moving on to Morgan. I don't see the feed portion on my Shopify.
Oh, okay. So this might be user specific and it can be from different issues, like your catalog is not connecting. So I suggest that you have it with us and we could take a deeper look and help you fix it.
Great.
Yes, I know you said there's so many no unfixed problems. So we're getting there.
Yeah, thank you for your patience all. All right, moving on. Let's see here. We have a question from Whitney asking, did we discuss how to get our Shopify website set up as shoppable in app? And that was just released last week in Pinterest Presents. Don't know if Praneet or Moira, if you'd be able to answer that. I think this might be more of a question for Praneet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. So we're currently in the middle of development for that. The idea is that we'll be launching it in late Q2 or early Q3. And we'll be doing a check on the merchant profile. If approved, you will be seeing an email communication from us, as well as within the settings tab, you'll have an option to turn it on. And when you turn it on, that's all. It's basically a toggle button. You click on it. All your product pins within Pinterest now will have a checkout button, and rather than when the pinner clicks on the pin, rather than getting navigated to your merchant storefront within Shopify, they'll be just taken to the checkout page within Pinterest. But the opt-in will only appear, I would say, early Q3.
Great. Thanks, Praneet, for giving us some more context there. All right, let's see here. So it looks like we have a couple of questions that are coming in around analytics. So this may be a separate team, but Moira, just let me know. It looks like Sarah's asking, why are ad conversions data so different from what Shopify and Google Analytics show?
Yeah, it's just a difference on how Shopify computes their data versus, of course, like Google Analytics. So it's not apples to apples. So that is the general answer. But if you do see like a huge discrepancy, this is something that we could take a look and work on for sure.
Yeah, definitely. For any questions on analytics, please also feel free to submit a support ticket so that we can dig into your specific accounts and any questions that you have in more detail that way. All right. All right, so moving on to some additional questions that I'm seeing coming in here. How can Shopify sites add optimized pinnable images to the website? Oh, another question about images. I believe, Moira, you already addressed this, correct? Yeah, okay, perfect. All right, I see we have another question here. How to avoid having catalog errors with a collection that doesn't drop all at once? We will have, let's say, 100 items added to Shopify, but we only make 20 active at a time. But Pinterest seems to pick up on all of them and gives me an error. So this is a catalogs question. Moy, let me know if this is kind of out of the scope for Shopify.
It touches as well, but I'm actually more concerned about the error message see.
Mm-hmm.
If you are seeing a couple of error messages, that's also something we can fix or take a look at. But right now, like I can't tell which error message you're seeing, but I get an idea of what you're telling me. So
Great.
Of course, like other, we could definitely take a deeper look into by filing a ticket.
Great. Thanks, Moira. Yeah, well, definitely some of these account-specific issues, we definitely recommend filing a ticket so that our team can take a close look and find out what's going on. All right. So it looks like we only have a couple minutes left. So for the remaining questions that we have in the chat, we'll make sure to address these in our FAQ post. So stay tuned for that coming later this week. And just to wrap things up, we want to thank you all for joining us today. This is our first time using Bevy, so we hope you like this new events platform and our new events page. Just want to give Moira and Praneet a huge thank you for joining us today. We really hope that you found this event helpful, and we look forward to covering more topics in our next event. So make sure to please take a moment to fill out the post-event survey and let us know what topics you want to see covered next, what you want to dig into, because we want to make sure that we can continue to use these events to cover any products or any questions that you're having issues with. And again, you'll be able to catch a full recording and recap of this in the PBC later this week. So stay tuned for that. And once again, thank you all for being here today. That wraps up today's event.